So another week and we are back with some more Championship transfer rumours. We're almost halfway through this January transfer window now. We have had some more deals go through which we'll be discussing in today's video, but I think that towards the latter stages of the window is when we see the more deals go through. That's when clubs start to panic a little bit, and we've got quite a lot to talk over in today's video. Before we do get into anything though, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. As always, their link will be in the top line of the description down below. Over on the OneFootball app, you can go ahead and look at some of the latest transfer rumours currently going around the footballing world. It's a really handy app to have for that sort of thing. We also have, like I say all the time, a lot of football going on throughout January. We've got FA Cup fixtures going on tonight involving some Championship clubs. I predicted what I think will happen in those games in yesterday's video. And following on from that, we got more Championship football coming up at the weekend, so you can go over to the OneFootball app and keep up to date with everything currently going on in the league. So like I said, link in the description down below. But without any further ado, let's hop into talking about some of the completed deals which we've gone through lately. We've seen several Championship youngsters being loaned out to League 1 and League 2 over the last few days in order to get a little bit more experience. Conor Gallagher of Leeds United, who spent the first half of the season out on loan in League 2 at Mansfield, has now gone on loan to Burton Albion in League 1. Fresh North End left back Josh Earl, who spent the first half of the season out on loan at Bolton, has completed a loan move to Ipswich Town for the rest of the season. I think all North End fans have quite high hopes for Josh Earl, and I think the loan move will do him well. Mark Bowler, who signed from Blackpool to go to Middlesbrough in the summer, has just joined Blackpool back on loan for the rest of the season. And Middlesbrough have also loaned out midfielder Marcus Brown. He's gone back to Oxford United. He was on loan there last season from West Ham. Made the move to Middlesbrough in the summer from West Ham and started out fairly promising, had a few decent games for them, but faded as the season's gone on, and maybe Championship football just came a little bit too soon for him. I think that Borough fans still have high hopes for him in the future. I've seen him have, I thought that he played fairly decent when North End played at the Riverside earlier on this season, but maybe another season and a half out at League 1 may do him good. Swansea completed the deal for Mark Guhai, coming over from Chelsea for the season on loan. Chelsea have quite the success rate of Championship loanees over the last couple of years, so I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on at Swansea. Huddersfield, in need of more defensive reinforcements, completed the signing of Richard Steeman, coming over from Sheffield United. The 32-year-old defender adds a lot more experience to that back line. And Huddersfield also completed the loan signing of Emile Smith-Rowe, coming over from Arsenal for the remainder of the season. Really excited to see how he gets on in the Championship. I know that all Arsenal fans hold him in quite high regard, really. I've seen a few highlight reels of him. 19 years old, very good on the ball and driving teams forward. I think he could be a real gem for Huddersfield for the rest of the season. But those were some of the completed deals which have gone through lately. Now without any further ado, let's get into some transfer rumours. So we'll start out with the news of Conor Gallagher being recalled by Chelsea from his loan move at Charlton. And in this situation, I feel a bit bad for Charlton, really. Obviously, with the thin squad they've already got, Conor Gallagher really was the centrepiece of that team, the flair that got them going forward, a brilliant progressive midfielder. 6 goals and 2 assists so far this season for Charlton, and he was playing regularly, whenever he was fit, he was pretty much the first name on that team sheet. Chelsea have decided to recall him, and it looks as if they're trying to send him out on loan somewhere else for a different challenge for the second half of the season. But the problem that Chelsea are having is, obviously, they want to send him somewhere where he is going to get regular game time. He was already getting that at Charlton, so that's where the frustration comes up. There has been Premier League interest in Conor Gallagher, with Burnley and Norwich both interested, but would he be starting week in, week out in both those setups? I'm not so sure. There's also been quite a bit of Championship interest, understandably so, for Gallagher. West Brom and Swansea are the two clubs at the moment who are monitoring him. The link to Swansea would make sense with the Steve Cooper link being there. He'd be a regular starter in that team as well. For West Brom, I think he'd be a brilliant option for them, but I'm not sure if he'd be starting week in, week out. Obviously, they like to play with Sawyers and Livermore in that midfield too. He'd be a brilliant rotation option for West Brom, and maybe would actually add something different to that midfield, but like I said, I don't know if he'd be starting week in, week out. So it's a difficult one for Gallagher. Charlton fans, I'd love to get your views on this one in the comments down below. However, it does look like Charlton are looking to fill that void of creativity by bringing in Marcus Maddison. They have reportedly had a bid accepted by Peterborough for the playmaker. There have been quite a lot of other Championship clubs interested, and it's understandable to see why. He's only got 6 months left on his contract so far this season in League 1, got 9 goals and 6 assists, can either play out wide or centrally. The other clubs said to be interested, Birmingham I think have had 2 bids turned down, Middlesbrough have been interested for quite a while now, and Blackburn Rovers as well. But the player is free to discuss with Charlton at the moment with that bid accepted, and if that deal does get over the line, I've said it for the past few transfer windows really, I've been surprised that no one has gone in for Maddison so far. Charlton could have a really good sign there, and I think they'll continue to be active for the rest of this window. It looks as if Spurs winger Jack Clarke will be on his way to QPR. Quite an interesting one, this one. Obviously spent the first half of the season out on loan at Leeds after making the move to Spurs permanent in the summer. Didn't really get his chance there. there, and there has been a lot of Championship clubs who have been interested, but Spurs and QPR at this point in time are in advanced talks to get this deal complete, and QPR at the moment have quite a lot of youth in their setup. I think Jack Clarke will fit in well and be quite a nice addition out wide for them. One rumour that did come as quite a bit of a surprise to me was Declan Rudd being linked with West Ham with a 750k move. Now, Declan Rudd does have his contract expiring at the end of the season, so what North End want to do with that is yet to be seen. For me personally, I'd say that since the last international break, Declan Rudd probably has been our most consistent player. Over the past sort of year or two, I've not been the biggest fan of Declan Rudd. He has been quite inconsistent for us, but lately he saved us in a lot of games. I think you have to give him credit for how he's done lately. Alex Neil made it quite clear that we were in the market for a goalkeeper in the summer transfer window, but that never really materialised. You know, we were linked with quite a few players. Muric we were heavily linked to, but he went to Forest in the end, so it was obvious that Neil was looking for another goalkeeper. But with the way that Rudd's playing at the moment, I'd actually be quite sad to see him going. Obviously, Conor Ripley hasn't filled North End fans with much confidence with the brief spells that we've seen him in the net for, but I am interested to see what happens with Rudd and his contract situation. Another Championship goalkeeper West Ham have been linked with is Cardiff goalkeeper Neil Etheridge, and the money being talked about around about £7 million for the Cardiff goalkeeper. The thing about Cardiff in the situation that they're in at the moment is if they are to let Etheridge go, they've already got the ready-made replacement as their number one in Alex Smithies, who's been on the bench for the majority of the season so far. You know, Alex Smithies more than capable of being a number one at this level. I think a fantastic goalkeeper. Cardiff fans, would you accept £7 million for Neil Etheridge? I think that this whole West Ham and goalkeeper situation is all dependent on what eventually happens with Darren Randolph. You know, he's been having a medical there for the past 2 weeks or something now. But it'll be interesting to see how that does unfold and which goalkeeper does eventually end up at West Ham. Another goalkeeper potentially on the move is that of Jordan Archer. He could be on his way to Fulham. I'd imagine that he would be coming in as a backup to Rodak and could potentially mean that Bettinelli may be on his way out of Fulham. Archer's an interesting one, really. Started out really well at Millwall, but towards the end, you know, his final 2 seasons, he was a little bit dodgy there, dropped a couple of clangers. He most recently played for Oxford United at the start of the season, but is currently a free agent. Derby County have also been interested in Sheffield United striker Billy Sharp. We mentioned this rumour a couple of videos ago when Leeds United were linked to the striker, and in that video we discussed what Chris Wilder said about the rumour at the time. You know, he had no plans to send Billy Sharp out on loan, and Billy Sharp seemed to be quite content at the club, but you know, things can change quite quickly over the January transfer window, and if Sharp was wanting to play a little bit more football, he's only had 1 start for Sheffield United in the Premier League so far this season, then Derby could be the destination. So far this season, Derby have had a real lack of goals in the Championship. Only Wigan have scored less than Derby so far, just 28 in the Championship this season for Derby. The options they've got up there at the moment, you know, the likes of Jack Marriott, who struggled for fitness, Martin Wycorn, who's been a little bit hit and miss, and then Chris Martin, who's more of sort of a target man than a finisher. If Billy Sharp was to be made available on a loan deal, then I think we'd see quite a few Championship clubs circulating around that one. You know, he's prolific at this level, so one to keep your eye on. I think that if that deal was to happen, it would be towards the end of the transfer window. And Leeds United are continuing in their pursuit for a striker in this window as well. They're still being linked with Chathams. Reportedly, they have set a deadline for when they want to get this done by, and if they can't agree anything with Southampton, then they'll just move on to other targets, because this one has been dragging on for quite a bit now. We spoke about this one, I think, in the last video. There have been reports saying that Chathams himself would be fairly keen on the move, but where Southampton stand on this one at the moment is a little bit confusing. He's only made 8 starts for Southampton in the Premier League so far this season, not scored for them yet, but he did come off the bench in their last game at the weekend to assist a goal. So Southampton's stance on the player still remains to be very mixed as to whether they are willing to let him go out or not. You know, Sheffield Wednesday, another club who also asked the question reportedly about Chathams. I think he'd be a brilliant option. He showed that with his last season at Birmingham, brilliant at running in behind with that pace and a brilliant finish on him, but it's all dependent on what Southampton want to do with the player. Andre Gray from Watford, another striker who Leeds United have asked the question about, but reportedly they were knocked back on that one. Hasn't played all too much football for Watford so far this season, just 7 starts in the Premier League, got 2 goals in that time. It's understandable to see why there would be interest there. You know, Andre Gray and his record in the Championship is absolutely fantastic. 17 goals for his last season at Brentford and 23 at Burnley in the Championship. Another striker who can play on the shoulder and get in behind would be a brilliant option for Leeds, but at the moment the player doesn't seem to be available. We also spoke about Luke Freeman and his link to Leeds United recently, but Nottingham Forest have also emerged as another club interested in the Sheffield United playmaker. Only made 3 starts for them in the Premier League so far this season, so honestly I wouldn't be all too surprised to see Luke Freeman leaving this January, either on a loan deal, maybe with a view to a permanent in the summer, but Nottingham Forest have emerged as another club interested. It's yet to be seen what is happening with João Carvalho, whether he's going to leave this January or not. Luke Freeman's also quite a diverse player in the fact that he can play either out on that left-hand side and cut inside, or as an inside forward, or he can fill in that number 10 position. Last time in the Championship with QPR, 7 goals, 6 assists. The season before that, 5 goals, 12 assists. Definitely one of the most creative players in the league that year. I've been a fan of him ever since his time at Stevenage. I always wanted North End to go in for him. But I think that would be a real statement from Forest if they did pull that one off. You know, I'd imagine Leeds fans would be absolutely fuming if Luke Freeman ended up at Forest and they didn't end up with a striker, but another one to keep your eye on, definitely. Forest are also been linked with a move for Brighton striker Glenn Murray as well. With his contract expiring at the end of the season, there have been some reports saying that Brighton would allow him to leave on a free transfer if that was to a championship club. Still got it, you know, last season scored 13 goals, the season before that 12 in the Premier League, and his last time in the championship scored 23 in Brighton's promotion season. Would be someone who, you know, would look to come on in the last sort of 20 minutes as an impact sub. He's played that role for the majority of the season so far for Brighton, just making 3 starts for them and then 11 appearances from the bench. He is 36 years old now, so obviously won't be playing week in, week out, but would come in and add a bit more experience to that Forest forward line. Bristol City have been heavily linked with Motherwell defender Declan Gallagher. I think there have been reports that they have had a bid rejected for the 6'5" defender. He could be coming in possibly as a replacement for Bailey Wright, who could be on his way out of Bristol City. Luton, one of the championship clubs, said to be interested in the Australian defender. Bailey Wright's had an interesting career since leaving North End, really. Came into Bristol City, he was their captain for a bit, I think. Played at both centre-back and right-back, but recently has fallen out of favour. Sunderland, another club who's said to be interested in the Australian defender. Conor Wickham's loan move to Sheffield Wednesday appears to be getting closer as well. This one's been rumbling on for quite a while now. Has previously played for Sheffield Wednesday. He had 2 separate loan spells at the club. In that time, scored 9 goals in 17 appearances for Wednesday. Obviously, Conor Wickham's quite an interesting one, really. Hasn't really played a lot of football over the last sort of 4 seasons because of injury. Since making his move to Palace, really hasn't played a lot of football. If you can get a player like Wickham fitting in the championship, though, I think he'd be a really effective option for Wednesday. I don't think that would be a bad deal for them at all. I think he'd improve on the options they already have there, and with the injury to Fletcher at the moment, that would be a decent bit of business if Wednesday can get that one done. Preston winger Josh Ginnelly looks like he's going to be going out on loan. Wrexham were one club interested, but it's looking like Bristol Rovers may be his destination. I still don't know how good the guy is. I've barely seen him play since he arrived at North End. The loan move would probably make sense for his career though, and progressing it going forward. Stoke younger Terrence Campbell's continue to be linked around as well. We mentioned this one a couple of videos ago, but the club's said to be interested: Celtic, Rangers, Wolves, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, and RB Leipzig. So with that amount of interest, it'd be surprising to see the player stay past this January, to be honest. Dwight Gale still provides to be a talking point. I'm interested if he ends up anywhere, to be honest, but continues to be linked around the championship. We mentioned this one, I think, in every video previously that we've done, but Sheffield Wednesday, the latest club to be linked to Gale, and there has been some new information coming about this potential deal. Reportedly now Newcastle are willing to let the player go out on loan for the rest of the season without a loan fee, but if that club was to be promoted, then Newcastle will be demanding £20 million for the player. But that is only if the club does go on to get promoted. As well as that, if they are to send him out on loan, they're looking for that club to pay the entirety of his 60 grand a week wages. So it's not going to be a cheap one, but I don't think that anyone really expected, you know, a striker of Gale's calibre at this level to be a cheap one, really. West Brom, Fulham, Forest, Leeds and Sheffield Wednesday have all been linked with the striker. It'll be really interesting to see where he does end up. There have also been reports that Cardiff have had a bid rejected for Wigan striker Kiefer Moore after he made his move to the Latics in the summer, moving over from Barnsley. Not really had the best of seasons so far, just scoring twice for them this season. In fairness to Moore, the service at Wigan, it hasn't been great, to say the least. You know, Wigan currently are the lowest scoring side in the championship. But I find it interesting that Cardiff are going after him. Obviously, they just let go of Gary Medina, very similar striker. They've already got Callum Patterson there, someone who I think could be quite effective in leading the line for them. Obviously, they've got Glatzel as well, but a similar striker to what they've already got in Kiefer Moore there. I'm not too sure about that one. Another player they've been linked to is Stoke forward Lee Gregory. Obviously, could be reuniting with his former manager Neil Harris there. They worked together from their time at Millwall. Still think Lee Gregory would be a good option for quite a lot of championship clubs, actually, and maybe will give Cardiff a little bit something different going forward. But guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for today's episode of the Championship Transfer Rumour Roundup. If you've seen any other transfer rumours that we didn't mention in today's video, then get them in the comments down below and we'll give them a mention in the next one. But other than that will now wrap it up for today's video, guys. So if you did go to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure you subscribe for a regular bit of championship content. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.